Instead of just putting on my social channels, in my timeline, just sold for over asking this or that, whatever, I figured I would tell a little bit more of the story behind the closings. Today, I'm going to highlight a closing I had in Waterbury. There's a condominium in the Bunker Hill area. Yes, it did sell over asking price. Yes, it did sell after getting multiple offers. And no, I am not patting myself on the back for that, because I think that any halfway decent priced home that was on the market in the last couple of years, no doubt should have gone above asking price with multiple offers. I don't think that should be the litmus test as to how you're going to hire or select your real estate professional to work for you if you are looking to sell your home. It doesn't take a lot of skill to do that. There's a lot more to this than just that, and that's really why I wanted to share this video with you. This particular home, it was in Victoria Court. It was a beautiful condo. Had a garage, had 2 bedrooms plus a finished attic space. Nice open concept with the living and dining area, and then it had a very small kitchen, elevated deck, lots of guest parking, and it was in a beautiful tree-lined community. In this particular case, my client, the seller, was in a situation that required me to do a little bit more to make sure that she could do a little bit less. She had a very demanding job. She has a very demanding job, and she worked many, many miles away from where she lived. And the commute was long, and that meant that many of the conversations that we would have would be late at night. After 9 o'clock at night would be when we would probably chat. And both of us would be starting our days much, much earlier, of course. And probably the last thing she wanted to deal with was the real estate transaction at that time of night. But I insisted because it was still what she needed. And I knew she needed to sell and buy so she can live closer to where she works and she can get her life back. And I determined in the process of all of this that there was a couple of mechanical issues, or at least one major mechanical issue with her condo that I prepared for to make sure that we had a provision to correct it. But I also knew that that wasn't necessarily in her best interest to do anything with regards to a repair. She didn't really have the time to address it, and there were other factors surrounding this. So, I suggested to her that she would consider selling it the way it is. And it wasn't me just saying that without putting pen to paper so she could see the financial benefit of doing the work versus not, and then to make an educated decision as to whether it's worth doing the work. So I made the recommendation of that repair, including a few other upgrades and updates that I thought that could help her sell for more money. And I gave her a value based on that. And then I gave her a value as is. And then when you look at how much was invested in doing all of the work and the amount of time that she was going to spend having the work done, meeting contractors, so on and so forth, the profit wasn't worth it to her. As a matter of fact, the selling price that she landed versus where she could have landed, it wasn't very different when you looked at the bottom line profit. And for that reason, she decided to sell it as is, at least with the condition it was in, subject to any repairs that may come up from a home inspection. I helped her, though, to negotiate an offer that was not only going to be as is without the repair of that mechanical issue, but also to be as is with no home inspection. And there were other buyers that would have loved to have bought this particular condo, but I understand that just going to all the buyers and just saying we want your highest and best offer by 5 o'clock on Tuesday is not necessarily the best negotiation strategy. And that's oftentimes what I'm presented with when I'm working with my buyers. I find many listing agents use that as their one and only negotiation tool, and I think that's a horrible way to negotiate If there was a time and a place for everything, but I find it hard to believe that it's the only thing that people are using these days, because that's what I'm seeing. But again, I digress again, and I said all that to say this, that what I did is I negotiated amongst multiple agents individually. I never tied my client to anything. I just presented to them what she wanted, and with her permission to present to some of them what others were doing. And in doing that, to get one person to stand out. And with that, you usually get what's called perception of values, in which case a buyer might perceive the value to be greater than maybe what it really is to them. Because they have a fear of losing out to someone else. And there's something about an emotional attachment to real estate, that when a buyer puts pen to paper, they could be a first-time home buyer and super nervous, but once they write that offer up, it opens something up in them that puts them in a position of an emotional attachment. This is part of the art of negotiation that I don't know that everyone is aware of, and I'm aware of it, and I take full advantage of it when I work with my sellers. I was able to get a particular buyer to buy with no inspection, above asking, and to close in the time frame that was going to work for my client, which was going to be way farther out than this particular buyer wanted to do, but we did it. And it went fairly smoothly all the way through. I even worked with their lender in the beginning, before accepting an offer. Every lender is more likely to work with you and talk with you as a listing agent before the buyer is ultimately under contract to buy. They don't really tell you much after the fact. But if you can get as much information as you can in the beginning as a listing agent, it works to your advantage, because they want that buyer to succeed just as much as their agent does, and I want to see it work out. So I ask the hard questions. I ask about the dates in the contract. Are these dates reasonable? Can we shrink this date down to that? Can we close on this date? What about a rate lock? If we stretch it out this far, is the rate lock going to be a factor or an issue moving down the road? These are all important parts of negotiation even before we went into contract. And this is why I always tell people, when they want to, say that we don't earn what we earn, for lack of a better phrase, I'm here to tell you that there is so much that an experienced, seasoned, and wise agent will bring to you as a seller that will put more money in your pocket and save you more headache and time if you just trust your agent. But you got to have the right one at the same time. So here I am putting all of this together, and I got this about halfway through, and get to the point of the condo documents that need to be presented from the homeowners association. And something was missing in there. Actually, it was the master policy for the insurance. I don't know why they left it out. But I chased it down, and I leaned on the lender first on that, because they were asking. And to no avail, I stepped in, and we were able to get that done, and everything worked out with that also. We got this thing all the way down to the closing day, and my seller is also buying another property using me as her buyer agent also. So I'm at a walkthrough, the final walkthrough before closing the purchase from my client, while the buyer for condo is at the condominium with their agent doing a final walkthrough there. When I get a phone call in the middle of the walkthrough on this side saying, if we can't correct the key issue, we can't close today. Apparently, there was a issue with the top lock and could not open it. The look on my client's eyes said everything, because she had just gone through a 24-hour span with the moving company and getting all of that done and all the packing, and things just weren't working as planned with that, because the one of the movers was about to get towed because they parked in the wrong space. So many things, right? So she was under a lot of stress, and I asked her to allow me a moment to just reach out to a locksmith, and she also ended up calling a couple locksmiths on her own also. It wasn't quite the smooth conversations you would expect, but I found somebody who was able to get to the property within 40 minutes. And we were able to keep the closing on time. Here I am, taking pictures of driver's license and cropping bits and pieces of a contract and sending over legal description of the property so that the guy on the other end of that phone call, the locksmith, can see that the owner of the property is the person he's talking to, and it's matching and aligning with the legal description of the property, and as well as the sales contract. So all this is happening in the background so that we can get the deal closed. And then we get to the closing table almost simultaneously, two different areas. And the concern of the attorney that represents my client who is buying now is concerned that she may not be able to move in on time because she's not sure that the money from the sale of the condo is going to arrive in enough time to be funded and then to go on record with the town hall with a deed. And so there's this level of panic on this side. But I didn't tell the attorney, I'm like, listen, you can relax and no need to get our client alarmed. I've already established with my client that based on the proceeds from the sale, I recommended putting X amount of dollars away for a hotel, extended stay for a few days, and to also include a budget for the movers to hold her belongings for a period of a few days also, in case this happened. So we already have that set up on the side. So now let's just work on getting everything closed and recorded today. It's good to let our client know that there's a potential, but my client was already aware of this. The attorney was really amazed that I had even thought of that. I'm surprised that that would not have been anyone's thought, to be honest with you, because you're closing on a Friday afternoon and you're closing in two different states. And when you're doing that, there's the potential of any human error can happen. Nonetheless, it all worked out. I mean, there was a small delay in between, so there was about a 2-hour span of time where we didn't hear anything. And I kept letting my client know, you'll hear soon. The closing has been done for your condo. It's finalized. They have the money. I had already spoken to the lender to ask them to wire the money in the morning, even before the closing, and it would just sit there so that the attorney would already have the money ready to go, subject to a signing. So I knew that there was very little possibility that this couldn't work out. So just relax. I know you have some paperwork to do at work. Go to work, and we'll call you. We got that phone call about 3 o'clock in the afternoon from the attorney when she says, we are funded and we are recorded. You may give her the keys. And so I was able to give my client the keys to her new home. The buyers of her condo are excited. Oddly enough, it was their first property ever, and they've been saving and saving and saving for a while to get that. So everyone was happy. It was a nice happy ending to what could have been a bit of an upset at the end. But I like to see when a team of people work together. There was attorneys for a buyer for a condo, attorney for the seller of a condo, and then attorney for her who's buying something else, and then an attorney for the seller of the place that she's buying. 4 different attorneys going in that transaction there, plus myself and the other agent there, and then another agent at the property that she's buying, 3 different agents, and it took a lot of coordination. And this is why it's important. It's very important. I cannot recommend enough to, when time comes for you to buy or sell, that you, first of all, don't cheap out, pay your agent. And then number 2, get a good agent, an agent that knows what they're doing. Ask the hard questions. If you are thinking about selling in the near future, I would love to be your agent. I would love to earn your trust. I would love an opportunity to show you what a good experience could be like when selling. And if you're looking to buy a home, I would love to earn your trust and to work for you and to show you, really what it's like to have someone really advocating for you in a market that is really seller dominated right now, and how I can help you to get what you're looking for in your purchase as well. And I'll share with you, and I'm going to talk more about this in another video later, because this same seller that also was my buyer, she did not pay full price for the home that she was buying. And so I'm saying that to tell you that even though we're in a seller's market, when you're working with the right agent, I was able to take my skills as a buyer agent and get my client all that she wanted and needed in that transaction. While on the selling side, I got her top dollar and saved her money on that end.